I hope you're doing well. Welcome to My Friends Love podcast, and I am your host, Virginia Njuguna. Yes, karibuni sana to yet another episode. I hope you're also again keeping safe since we last met last week and you're doing well. I just hope you're doing well and you're good. Sindio? As we continue now, tunamalizia mwezi, and I don't know how your month has been, but for me, I have learned a lot. Everyone gets to learn a lot in their day-to-day life. And on today's episode, this is also something I love talking about because this is also an experience again. And it's about being a Christian entrepreneur. Yes, it's my first time in this. It's my first time doing business and everything else in 2024. But I'm happy I started. It was a time of procrastination. Remember last year, I was telling us, if you have a project you want to do, please stop procrastinating. Stop procrastinating. It is time for you to do it. And it was a way of also encouraging me to start. Now I started the business this year in 2024. Where we do events, where I am an event and wedding planner. We all know that. Yes, and the business is called Sourcelux Events. But one thing I would love to say, this business, I have just begun it with God. And that is one thing I got to learn when I got onto my feet. Yani venye tu nimerudi normal and everything, hapo ndio this thing, I'm just starting it with God. One thing I am loving about our God is that He has placed us in different places of influence. And now from Matthew chapter 28 verse, we all know that verse, near the Great Commission, where we have all been assigned to go out there and make disciples and even tell them about the ways of God. And one thing about that verse, it tells us that God is with us. So wherever God has placed you, He is with you, and He's telling you wherever you are to represent Him and bring people to Him, bring souls to Him, those who are lost. And that is a way that God utafurahisha God, sindio? Yes. So there are 7 mountains of influence, and there are people who happen to be in 3 of the mountains of influence. There are those who happen to be in 4. I don't know whether there's someone who happens to be in all, but the 7 mountains of influence, there is family, there is education. I'm nazitaja, but zitaji in a way of ati zinafuatana. No, I'm just nazitaja too, just randomly as they are. So there is family, there is education, there is government, there is arts and entertainment, there is also business and finance. Finance. There is family also. How can I forget family? And there is also media. So every single one of us, we are placed in different places. That's why there's no room for competition, because one thing I always say, the cake is so big. It is so big to an extent kila mtu atapata piece yake na zingine zitabaki. That's why we are placed in places where we are not supposed to be competing. And I am happy to be in 2024, to be in this space of business. I really hope that we will walk through with God. Now I am talking about it because I am a small business owner. Najua bado, there are people who have made it. They've been there for long, and that is where we really need to hold hands with them, get to let them mentor us in this journey, because it's not easy. But above all, the fact that we are with God, tuko sawa. So it takes me to the story of in 2 Kings chapter 4 verse 1 to 7. There's a widow. Let me just tell you about the story. There's a widow who had 2 children, and she went to talk to Elisha because this bwana yake before akufe alikuwa na deni. Na alikuwa amekuja akawaambia, msipolipa hii deni, I'll take 2 of your sons and they'll be my slaves kulipa your deni. And Elisha was like, what do you have with you? What do you have in the house? And the woman said she just have a small jar of olive oil. And Elisha told her, go and gather as many jars as possible in your house. ukitosheka na hizo mingi, then close the doors and pour out the oil. And that is how God comes through. And God came through for them, let me say, through Elisha. And Elisha told them, you will make so much oil in it, and then you go sell and make money, lipa deni yenu, and ile nye mtabaki nayo ndio itakuwa yenu ya kujisustain. And this story, when I read this story, I was like, kumbe, even in the Bible, there are people who, because even the widow, the husband was in a group of prophets. That shows we are Christians. Sometimes unapitia madeni. You know, we go through debts, we go through financial struggles, and yet we are children of God. And one thing I would love to say from this story, I am encouraged. I am encouraged that a man of God, Elisha, can come and challenge and bring up an idea. And this is because the woman faced alienda kwa Elisha, akamwambia shida yake. And it brings me to a place of when we go with our problems to God, our financial struggles, our financial debts zenye tuko nazo, God will always use, yani God hutumia ways that you cannot expect to bless you, to use you as a blessing to other people, to use something yenye iko kwa nyumba yenye huwezi dhania God anaweza itumia to do business with it. So as an entrepreneur, I have learned a lot from this specific verse, from this specific chapter, and I hope to run with it as I am beginning, you know. So I'm starting with you this journey as a beginner. Una wale wenye wanaanzanga mtoto akizaliwa anakuruma. As we call it in French, we call it kukuruma, but I don't know how you call it. Jine menipotea. But there are stages of children as they grow. And for me, as we're still in the early ages, in the early stages of growth, and we know that we cannot do it by ourselves. We need people in our circle to support us. But at the same time, I'm learning is to pray for my business. I'm learning to pray for my business, to pray for my staff who will come in future, to pray for the cash flow that will be happening. I don't know. I know business is tough. Business, I have been told it is tough in itself, but tunasonga nayo. Si God akona sisi, tunasonga nayo, and we'll also use that opportunity to bring many people to God. So one thing I'm learning from that is that also I am collaborating this story of Elisha and the widow with Job's story. Job was one of the richest people we know, and with all that money, he was still a person who could go before God and humble himself and pray for all the things that God has provided for him. So I'm learning to pray for my business as early as it is, to pray for my staff, to pray for my clients, wherever they are, whenever we will meet, just knowing that God is working with us in this journey, that the people we will encounter, haitakuwa tu ni biashara peke, itakuwa ni biashara and something else that they will see. We have Christ-like character. We're not perfect, but God is working with us in that journey. Okay? Another thing I also learned from the story of Job is about humility. Manze, biashara ukianza inaweza kuhumble. Inaweza kuhumble. Because the people you're interacting with are your potential clients. You just have to be humble. These are the people that you have to approach and tell them this is what you do. These are the same people who are going to bring clients to you, other clients to you. So inanifunza so much humility, and also helping me know that I can't by myself. I need people to come and I need people's wisdom. Unaelewa? When we sit together and exchange ideas, there's someone who has a better idea than mine, and we will sharpen one another to grow. So I am learning all about humility as a Christian entrepreneur, and I know it's not an easy thing ikikuwa wewe maybe umezoea kuishi huko, because I've been in the film industry before, and I've been imefika place I am called for shoots, and then I'm told this is what you'll earn, and yes, sasa ndio mimi hapa ninaanza. Sasa mimi ndio natafuta hao watu, and from a place where you are getting, then from a place where you have to humble yourself. It's one thing I'm really telling God to teach me how to humble myself. Okay? Yes, it is also helping me to value teamwork. As a Christian entrepreneur, I really value teamwork. From the character developments nimepitia in other lives, in other experiences, I Mostly I've gone through because I love involving people when it comes to decision making. I love just listening to people's opinions, and sometimes mine may not be close to perfect. When I listen to someone's opinion, it's something that shapes all of us together. So I am happy that I am getting to a place to value teamwork more. Yes, another thing I am also learning from now, the story of Job himself, is to be truthful and to have integrity. Hey, in this current world, for you to stand out and make a good living, watu wengi lazima wapitie njia kando for them to make that money. But one thing I'd love to say, because I am a Christian entrepreneur and I'm seeking God's direction and guidance, so I have to be have integrity. I don't know how I'm going to make it, but God atatupea wisdom, atatudirect. He's the author of all ideas. He's the one who puts money in people's businesses, ndio anakuja na kufund. He's the one who makes you encounter people who, if you have integrity, these are the people who support you, who are destiny helpers, destiny connectors, you see. So that is one thing I'm really learning, to have integrity as a Christian entrepreneur. Another thing I'm learning is, as much as I am working on for my business and for it to grow, I have to also work on myself. I have to see ati kila kitu ni biashara. The business will grow, but the person himself is not growing. I really need to have time with God. I really need to have time attending workshops where there are other people with more knowledge, with more information. Even if workshops are free, even if workshops people are paying for, itanibidi nimetoboka, and I also go and learn. And also, even if it's to read books, hey, I have tried. There's a time I was trying to read books na nilijua nimeshika rhythm, ikafika time nikapotea. But right now I'm being forced to go back to reading books, and I have to, because these are things that are zinanijenga and they will help you as a Christian entrepreneur. So this just entire episode is to encourage someone. I don't know, maybe you've been procrastinating. It's time for you to stop procrastinating and start doing that business. If it's a business you've been doing, I'd love to talk more about business. I'm sure we'll have time later in the year to talk about business. But yeah, as a Christian entrepreneur, there are very many things you have to be stand out in the market. We really need to be at the top of these mountains of influence, because many people who are there at the top, when you wanna lead ISO departments, you'll find many are not born again, and that is where corruption is happening. That is where people with selfish motives are taking charge, yet God has given us the authority to be in those departments and take lead. So as a Christian entrepreneur, whichever business you're doing, one thing I'd love to tell you, yes, begin with God, and He's going to be with you in every step of the way. So yes, I don't have much for this episode. I hope tutapata more information later as we grow, because we're still young. And we know that tutachapa kazi pamoja. So thank you so much for having us in this episode. See you on our next episode, and God bless you.